Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to stick to Sweden and we're going to go to Helsingborg once again, a really pretty city here in Skåne in southern Sweden. And for this one we're doing my third review from Brewski. So this one is called More Cowbell and it's a Saison beer, so it should be quite nice. It comes in at 5.3% and I think it was rated at 77 on Rate Beer, so it's not the most highly rated Brewski beer that you're going to come across, but apparently it is still pretty good. These beers are always quite interesting because the Brewski ones tend to be quite similar to the style, but they've got a little bit of quirkiness to them, like different fruit flavours and stuff like that. So these guys really seem to like adding fruit to their beer and it works out really well for them, so I'm sure I probably will enjoy this beer actually. It should be really nice. So as is usual with my beer reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery. If you do want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual websites are in the video description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews I've done from Brewski before. More will be added in the near future, and there's all the usual social media things. Do follow me on there. Your support would be much appreciated, and if you do want to see more beer reviews, just subscribe to the channel. And to those of you in Sweden, please do let me know some other Swedish beers and breweries that you guys would like me to have a look at. So anyway, to tell you about Brewski. So as I've mentioned before, Brewski were founded back in 2014 in Helsingborg, which is here in Skåne in southern Sweden. But the founders of the company are Marcus Hjalmarsson, Johan Britsen, Alfred Olsson and Robin Skoglund, and all of these guys were largely inspired to start their own brewery because of the West Coast American craft beers. Really, that's where the whole kind of craft beer movement began, and it's just spread throughout the rest of the world. But Marcus was originally associated with the High Nose brand of beer that was brewed at the Brewery, which is actually quite close to Helsingborg actually, and some of these beers are still brewed there, although all of the Brewski beers are now brewed at their brewery in Helsingborg, which has a capacity of 340,000 litres annually. For a period of time at this brewery as well, All In Brewing brewed most of their beers there, but now they've got a new partnership with West Coast Brewery, who are up near Gothenburg, but All In, as far as I know, still distribute the Brewski beers to Systembolaget and things. If you don't know, in Sweden we have the Systembolaget stores that are nationalised beer stores, and it's quite difficult actually to get a lot of different beers. There's conditions that breweries have to meet to join and have their beers distributed nationally and things like that. It's good for beer tasters like me, but for the companies I'm not sure if it's all that great, but it's quite a complex system. But back to Brewski, these guys have a good range of beers. I've tried for you the Tropic Sneeze, which was really nice, and also the Warp Drive, which was also really good. These guys, if you like fruity beers, if you like the additions of fruit to beer, if you like hoppy beers that are very fruity as well, then Brewski are one of the breweries that you would probably do well to have a look at. They've got a good range of beers. They don't have their own website, oddly enough, though, so if you want to read about the different beers you can get from Brewski, you should go and check out the Untappd profile or indeed the Rate Beer profile. One of those two will tell you about all the different beers you can get from Brewski. But anyway, that's enough about the company. Let's get on to the tasting of this beer itself. So I'll just let you have a little look at the artwork on this one before we get it opened up. So as you can see, there's an alien on there with his flying saucer beaming up the cows. It says there, I don't know how well you can see it, but it says, "We come in peace. The only exception is cows." You can see there's the little Brewski symbol on the side there. He's also on the bottle cap, of course, too. And on the back it tells you 5.3% farmhouse ale, Starkul. Starkul, of course, in Sweden is anything that's over 3.5%, because that's only anything above 3.5% has to be sold in Systembolaget rather than in the supermarkets, of course. But it says here, "Brewski loves cowbells." This expression is typically used to indicate something needs more emphasis, or simply when it needs more cowbell. We apply these principles to this in this beer, and we've added lots of hops that give you fresh citrusy tones. While some of us enjoy sunshine in Barcelona, the rest of us hear the cowbells in the far distance saying, "Kling klong, kling klong." So yeah, should be quite an interesting beer for us. Brewski, as I say, are one of the breweries that I've really enjoyed since I've been here, so I'm sure I will enjoy this beer. As you can see, a nice smoky oak, and Brewski, of course, fill their beers right to the rim as well, which is always good. So you get a little bit more than the 330 mils that it's supposed to be. So we're not going to complain about that. Yeah, that head is going to be pretty big, so I'll just leave it at that for the moment and we'll put the rest in just a little minute. But yeah, as you can see, the beer is poured exactly what you would expect of a Saison beer. It's a nice kind of bright yellowy orange colour. There's a 2-finger frothy white head on this one. It's got a little bit of bumpiness on the other side here, but overall it's quite frothy. There is a degree of transparency to the beer, but you can see it really is quite opaque there. There's some big bubbles sitting on the side of the glass that are just heading up towards the bottom of that head. One or two little bits of sediment, and you can actually see the sediment in the bottle in this one. But it looks really nice. Yeah, as you can see, perfect pour in one of these tulip glasses. You can really smell the nice passion fruity aromas coming off this one actually. Very juicy and fruity. There's peaches in there, there's mangoes as well actually. It's the more juicy tropical fruits rather than the kind of pungent tropical fruits. Yeah, there's a bit of citrusy character as well. And this is without even shaking it up. I will shake it up in a minute and see what else we can get out of it. But you've got that typical big bready yeasty character that you would expect of the style. Yeah, that typical big bready yeasty character is definitely in there. There's a smooth wheatiness to it as well. But it's big and doughy and bready. It's really nice actually. This beer smells really inviting. But yeah, we'll shake it up a little bit and see what else we can get. Yeah, you get more of a kind of grassy and floral character to this beer when you shake it up. There's a little bit of herbal character mixing in with it too. But really the fruits are quite prominent in this one. There's peaches, there's a bit of mangoes, maybe apricots or something like that. But I think it's passion fruit. It's passion fruit and mangoes to me that I think are sticking out in this one. Yeah. I wonder if it's Simcoe that's in here. I think, if I remember correctly, it's Simcoe that gives you a good bit of passion fruit out of the nose. There's not Amarillo, of course, is the one that I really like. It's got a lot of orange. I love orangey citrusy beers. But this one I'm sure is more Simcoe. It's a passion fruit note that's coming out of this one, I think. But there's a lot of peaches and mangoes, you know, the more juicy tropical fruits. But yeah, just a little bit of herbal hop as well, but quite floral, and a bit of aromaticity as well, but mainly a light grassy character, just mixing with those nice fruity notes. But there's a bready malt base as you would expect, and some of the yeasty character too, so it smells really nice. Let's give it a go. So this is more Cowbell, 5.3% Saison from Brewski in Helsingborg, Skåne, Sweden. Skål! It's actually quite sour. That's the first thing you'll notice about this beer. It is a farmhouse ale that really leans towards the sour side of things. And some of the beers that Brewski do, from what I remember, some of them really do tend to have that sour component. Some of them not so much, but they do like adding quite sharp fruity characters to their beer. Beware of that if you try the Brewski beers. This brewery really are ideal for people that enjoy sour beers actually. The carbonation is quite active actually as well in this one. Yeah, once you get over the initial, pardon me, the beer is a little bit carbonated, but once you get over the initial kind of sourness of the beer, because it does come in very sharp when you first try it, once you get over that, you start to get more of what you expect from a Saison. I didn't expect it to be quite as sour as that. It's been a little while since I've had a Brewski beer, so it kind of caught me off guard a little bit. But just beware of that when you're trying this beer. Just take a few sips of it, sugar it around your mouth, and let the whole palate adjust before you start dissecting the flavour too much. But yeah, so the middle of your palate is just blanketed with this kind of really smooth, bready, doughy character. There's a little bit of earthiness. I can feel a little bit of earthy and kind of herbal character that just builds up as you start to move into the aftertaste, but it's big and bready, goes right across the middle of your palate. Some of the doughy characters just build on top of that. In the back corners of the palate there's a tiny little bit of earthiness, but the hoppy side of things, it really is quite smooth and quite grassy, but it is backed up by some sort of herbal character, and that works quite well with the malt base, I would say. It gives the beer this really smooth mouthfeel once the kind of sour character just dissipates a little bit. Yeah, it's quite nice. It's different from the other Brewski ones that I've come across. The malt base in this one is a lot less prominent actually. I remember with the Berliner Weissbier, for me the Berliner Weissbier that they did, And I have to admit, I forget whether that was, I think it was Tropic Sneeze was that one. I forget which one was Warp Drive and which one was Tropic Sneeze, but they were both really good. But they were both, like their malt base was a lot more prominent, and that's one of the things that I liked about Brewski at the time, was that they had a real balance between the fruity characters and the hoppiness, and obviously in the malt base as well. But this one is just a little bit more, it kind of, more in the aftertaste, it's a little bit more of the malty character that's coming out. The fruitiness just dissipates a little bit. It comes in really sharp and really sour, but then it almost completely disappears actually. And the beer is nice. There's no doubt about that. The beer is nice, but for me, it's just not quite as memorable as Warp Drive or Tropic Sneeze. But it is good. Don't get me wrong on that. This is a good beer. As I always say, beer is subjective. You know, some of you guys might enjoy this one more than Warp Drive or Tropic Sneeze, and it is a good beer. There's no doubt about that. The thing you'll notice about this beer as well, the sour characters from the fruit, it doesn't really taste much like the kind of tropical notes. It doesn't taste too much like mangoes or passion fruit. They start to come out a little bit later, and then the fruity character just almost completely disappears in favour of the maltiness. There is a bit of a wet mouth feel on the front half of the tongue. You can feel some of these fruity characters sitting in there. You've got that really tart, citrusy, sharp character. You know, almost like that lemony citrus character. You can really pick that up in this beer. There's almost a little bit of lemongrass to the kind of smooth grassy hops that you get in this beer. But it's quite hard to pick up the likes of the peaches and the passion fruit and the mangoes and things like that you can pick up in the aroma of this one. They're not too prominent in the actual flavour. It's more of a really sharp, tart, citrusy character, I would say. Those of you who like sour beers, as I said, you will really enjoy this one because it just smooths out nicely. Sour beers, of course, are one that I've started to get a bit more into recently. I tried a Precariat beer just a few videos ago that you saw. That was really good. I mean, in Italy, sour beers are very popular too, and this one is nice. Brewski are good for this sort of thing. So if you want sour beers in Sweden, Brewski are where you want to go. Yeah. It is nice, this one. I wonder if they've put a little bit of Brettanomyces in this at all, something like that, or Lactobacillus, I think they call it. I forget which one, but it's a nice beer. There's no doubt about that. The malt base in this one's quite nice too, just because it has that little bit of herbal character. So it is distinctly different from the other ones that I've come across from Brewski. And I'm not sure if this is a limited batch or if it's seasonal, but it says that this one is best before 2017 and it's batch number 2. So maybe they've only brewed this beer once before, but it is quite a nice one, I have to say that. So yeah, it is quite an interesting one. I would say try it. If you enjoy sour beers, definitely give this guy a go. It says it's a kind of Saison farmhouse beer, and it does have that character to it in the aftertaste, but initially it really is more like a sour beer. So it's almost like a sour beer kind of Saison hybrid, this beer. So if you're interested in that, then definitely give the more Cowbell a go. So in terms of the mouthfeel of this, I would say definitely light-bodied, this one. It's got a little bit of warmth. Like I can feel just in my chest here, there's a little bit of warmth from this beer actually, and maybe that's, I always tend to get that with sour beers actually. Maybe my body just doesn't cope with them as well. But this is a nice beer that, as I said, the malt base becomes a bit more prominent in the aftertaste. You've got a good bit of that really quite sharp, tart fruit character. The hops, for me, are very smooth, but they do become a little bit drier as you move more and more into the aftertaste. But the beer itself is really quite nice actually. So I have to admit, the other Brewski ones I tried before, I'd probably choose those over this one if I went back to Brewski or had them all on tap. But this is a nice beer. If you like the more herbal side of farmhouse ales, then I'm sure, pardon me, that you will enjoy this one. So do go and check it out actually. It's an interesting beer, and Brewski, as I say, are one of these breweries in Sweden that you really should check out. Smoothly carbonated, this one, and it's kind of an ideal kind of, I would say, sort of spring seasonal beer. I'm not sure if it is a seasonal beer, but it's definitely worth checking out. The malty flavours in this and the aftertaste with that little bit of herbal character are really nice, so I would recommend it. But anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this beer review. As always, do let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below if you've tried it for yourself. Always interesting to hear from you guys that are watching the videos. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Go and check out my other reviews from Brewski, and go and check out the social media things as well. But most importantly, go and try some of the beers. Brewski, if you like sour beers, are a brewery that you really want to get stuck into. I'd recommend the Tropic Sneeze. You can see the bottle up somewhere behind me. I think it's about there, when I can see on the camera. But the one with the puffin and the gay pride colours is a really, really good beer. Do check out that one. But thanks again for watching, and I will catch you soon. Go and check out Brewski from Helsingborg. This one was the more Cowbell. Quite an interesting one. Skål.